Okay, guys. Tonight, this is going to be the last night before we take the final. So, time kind of got of essence here at the end, and we're still going to be okay. I think I taught you a little bit more than what I had expected, so it actually turned out a little bit better than I thought. So, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go over some of the highlights of the class. And I want you to write down kind of what we're doing tonight, because a lot of the stuff that we talk about tonight probably could be on the final. So you need to really pay attention to what I'm doing tonight, and you should be okay. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is read your notes. That's going to be one of the first things you do other than turn your computer on. So Alt-I is read notes. And unfortunately, it's not letting me do it on the computer because I didn't bring my little SD card. So, and that's okay. But that's how you know. Remember, I told you guys, it's putting the little SD card in your computer, doing Alt-I. Alt-I opens up your files. You select your file, and then it reads it in. That's where you name your file. That's where you bring in your file, read in your file. You do all of that stuff in Alt-I. Okay? Alt-I is read notes. Okay? Alt-T as in Tom, is translate notes. So what you do is when you go into Alt-T, and once again, it's not letting me do it because I don't think there's probably not any notes to read. Let's see. Okay, I was just kind of in the wrong program. Alt-I is read notes, and it's going to look like this, okay? Where you go in, choose the source where you're going to get it from. It's going to be from your SD card or whatever. That's what it looks like. So Alt-I, read notes. Alt-T is translate notes. That's what it looks like right here, okay? And then what you do is you go in here, select notes, select the day that it was on. You can pick, Tran and Edit, Quick Tran, or whatever. But the thing that you need to know right here, what I'm talking about, Alt-T. Alt-T is translate. Translate notes. Okay? Alt-E brings you into open your file. So that's where you open a file. Alt-E. Go in here, select your file. It opens it up, and then you can start editing through there. Alt-E is open, and they do the E for edit. The E is for edit. So everything that they do in Eclipse kind of relates to the letter that they kind of do. They try to get it as close to the letter as they can. Okay? So a lot of this stuff, Okay. Alt-U takes you to your user settings. That's where all of your stuff is, where, it has to do with paragraphs, document, anything in your user files, and all of that stuff. It has to do with the numbers. You remember, we talked about the numbers, changing it from ordinals and stuff like that. translating stuff, real-time stuff, input stuff. The thing you need to know here, Alt-U. Alt-U takes you to your user settings. Okay? F9 opens your dictionary. Let's make sure that's right. Yeah, right here. F9 opens your dictionary. So that's where all of your stuff is stored. You can go through, edit all of your strokes that you've put into your main dictionary. It even has your job dictionaries in there, so if you want to go through and edit your job dictionaries, you can. But the thing that you need to know is F9 opens your dictionary. Control F is your file manager. Control F. So this is where you go in and it has all of your stuff and what you can do with it. So if you want to move it on to a thumb drive, zip drive, external hard drive, if you want to pull something from those things, you want to read it in, this is where you go in, into your file manager to do all of this stuff. So you can do, anything. You can print stuff, make ASCIIs, restore stuff, zip stuff, delete, other files. So if you're moving files from your computer to like an external hard drive, afterwards, this is where you want to go through and then delete your files or whatever. This is where you go. So what you need to know here is Control F, File Manager. That's your file manager. Okay. Once you're in your job, you want to start editing. You want to go into hyperkeys. Alt-Z. Alt-Z takes you into hyperkeys. All of you guys know what hyperkeys is, right? Those are just shortcuts. For those of you that don't know, don't tell me because I'm going to beat you. But anyway, your hyperkeys is where Eclipse has made it possible to where they don't want you to move your hands away from what's considered the home keys on your typing board. So you can pretty much do everything right there on your typing board that you pretty much need to do to edit. What you need to know here, Alt-Z. Alt-Z gets you into hyperkeys. Okay? Now if you want to move right, it's L. L moves the cursor right. To move left is J. It's not Alt-J, it's not Shift-J, it's just J. So when you're in hyperkeys, these are the letters that do it. You don't have to do any of the other stuff in the hyperkeys but this. So it's L for right, J for left. I is up. I moves your cursor up in HyperKeys. K moves down. K is down in HyperKeys. Okay? G is global. So if you want to define something, it's G. Or if you're not in HyperKeys and you want to global something, it's Control G. So if perhaps this is one of the questions that's on the test, it may be worded that way. How would you global something? And if it were to be one of the questions that's selected for my grand finale test, then it's probably going to be as G or Control G. So that's how you're going to know. One thing that I'm going to tell you about thing in HyperKeys, G only does global. One. It's one stroke. That's it. Control G, as long as you do Control G, 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 you can keep on doing it. It's going to keep on global. You should know that already, but if you don't. But what you need to know here is global is G or Control G. W W adds your prefixes and suffixes in HyperKeys. So that's what you need to know there. To add prefixes, suffixes is W. And then you choose whichever letter you need to for the suffix or prefix that you want. If you want to delete in HyperKeys, it's D.
I use that.
Seriously?
We have one student that learned one thing, and it was D, delete.
Delete.
I didn't even catch that.
Thank you.
So D in HyperKeys is delete.
This is gonna save some time. Already.
N as in Nancy is insert text. So if you want to, if you drop something or you misstroke something and you don't want it in your dictionary, N gets you back to a prompt where you can type. If you're in HyperKeys and you don't press N, then it's going to do all kinds of different commands and you're going to go all over the place. Okay?
Yeah.
Some of you guys are nodding like you found that out the hard way.
Found that out today.
That's okay. Yeah. So N as in Nancy is insert text. To cap a word in HyperKeys is A. Okay, so you're right here. You want to cap or uncap, it's A.
So it also uncapitalizes it?
Yes. So it'll cap or uncap it. So if it's already in cap and you don't want it in cap, you just press A and it'll uncap. If it's uncapped and you want it capped, A will cap it. So it'll do the opposite of what it is, of what it's sitting as.
And that cursor has to be on that letter.
Yes, the cursor has to be on the letter that you want capped or uncapped. Okay?
What if it's a whole word?
If you want to cap the whole work, that's a different function, but it's F7.
Okay, that's not,
Yeah, that's for a different day.
okay.
But since you brought it up, now we're gonna do it.
No.
So
sorry,
when we're
y'all.
here till 9:45,
My fault.
Tea, that's
but also F6. F6 will cap or uncap also. So if you're not in hyperkeys, F6 is cap uncap there also. You don't really need to know that. I just kind of told you,
Is that in the
but you
test?
do need to know it.
That's on the test?
It's probably not going to be on the test. I'm working more with hyperkeys. So the cap uncap is going to be your A.
All right.
Okay?
And that is one spot,
One character.
one character.
It'll cap one character.
All right, thank you.
Okay? If you make a mistake and delete something, Z is your oops key in hyperkeys. Z. Okay, we're gonna kind of get out of hyperkeys now. I think that's pretty much some of the stuff that I wanted you to know about hyperkeys. There's some other great stuff about the hyperkeys, guys. M I think blocks. Yeah. If you want to mark text, M is for mark, but I mean, there's other stuff. You don't really need to know that. I'm just kind of telling you because it's good to know. But look at that hyperkey list that I gave you. Did you get one, Ro? Yeah. Okay. Look at that hyperkey list, guys, and use that hyperkey list. I'm telling you, it's invaluable. Okay? All right, we're out of hyperkeys now. Bless you. Bless you. Bless you. It's like a kitten. Getting run over. Okay, we're out of hyperkeys now. F2 brings up your speaker list. So it has all of your speakers in there. Witness, court, attorneys, caseworker, whatever speaker list you have pretty much in your main dictionary, we're probably on this, maybe on this list. What it's going to do is it's going to pick the ones that you use the most and put them in there. So it's not going to have all of them. You know, I probably have, I probably have 40 in my dictionary of different speaker lists, of different speakers. So F2 brings up your speaker list. So if you want to change your speaker, you know, you go in there, this wasn't right, you know, I need to change it. You put your arrow there, left click it, F2, kind of scroll down, whichever one you want, pick the one you want, push OK, then it changes it, okay? What you need to know here, F2 is your speaker list, okay? If you're in text and you need to change it to a question, is F3. So you're right here, you know what, that needs to be a question. F3 changes it to a question.
Changes inflation or just changes question?
It changes, it'll put that text into a question. So it puts it into a question format, is what it does.
Like in testimony, the Q and the A.
And the A. So even if you get them mixed up and say you drug your answer in with the last part of the question and it stayed up on that line, and it has like answer
Yeah.
white or E, and you know that it was YE and the Y stayed in the answer, you just put it on the you know, the part that has your text or steno, put it there. F4 is the answer. F3 is the question.
And F4 is the case.
F4 is the answer.
Yeah, I like it. You knew it? Excellent. Yeah, they're not hard. On mine, there's something different.
Okay? So F3 is the question. F4 is the answer. Now, if you want to put a fixed line, you know, say you want to do, you know, another paragraph or whatever, and you want to do a fixed line, it's Shift F5. And then if you need to, if it needs to be tabbed, you press tab once and it'll tab over. Shift F5 is a fixed line. So that gets you into another, it'll take you down to another paragraph. Okay, or a different line.
But is that the same as?
Control P.
Yeah, Control P.
And it could be, I mean, and there's different functions, you know, for it. I mean, I'm telling you some of the ones that I know. Okay?
Like with Control P, I'll do it sometimes at the top of the page, and it'll change the line from fixed, so it won't allow me to type anything. So I'll have to go in and actually change
See?
the line back to fixed.
Too.
Like when I'm doing
Control
Q&A.
P does the same thing, but it indents it over.
I learned that from Mary Jo's dad.
I'm sorry?
Control P. Yeah, it brings it down, because like when I do Control P, it brings it down without indenting it. But like when I'm doing Q&A and I start off, it starts at the top of my paper. And when I Control P down, it gets rid of the question. And then when I go back to fix it and I go back to add like our name and date at the top, it changes it from fixed, so it won't allow me to type anything. So I have to go in and manually change those 3 lines that I indented from back to fixed so that I can start typing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because it doesn't let me type sometimes.
So it doesn't allow you to do it with
won't allow
Control P?
me. Right, like
Try
I can
Shift.
Control P,
Do
but
Shift
then those
F5.
3 lines that I spaced out, I can't go back and type unless I manually
Oh
change
yeah,
those
because
things.
it'll leave. Yeah, so if you do it too many times, like Mary Jo is saying,
After this, we're gonna quiz you on that name.
like
tell you
that.
I'm gonna fail that one.
Yeah.
So if you have a blank line, if you do it too many times, it's not gonna let you go in and do it. So you have to change it right here. So you have to come in here and change it and put a fixed line in there. Then it'll do it. So, but if you want to get rid of that line, Control Y gets rid of the line.
Do we need to know that one?
Actually, you do.
Wait, control line does what?
Control Y,
Oh, control Y.
as in yo-yo.
What is that?
Deletes the line. So if you're on a line and you want to get rid of it, Control Y deletes the line.
Okay, so everything will move back up. Is that what you're saying?
No, that whole line's going to be gone. So you have to be careful with that one with Control Y. You want to make sure that you want to get rid of that line because it's going to be gone.
So where's your cursor? The beginning of the sentence?
If your cursor's right here, it's going to take this whole line out. It doesn't matter where your cursor is.
Okay.
It's going to take that whole line out, and all of this is going to be gone. Your speaker, everything.
Okay.
So everything's just going to get moved up.
But if you want to put it back in, you press Z.
If you're in hyperkeys.
What if you're not? Control Z?
I think it's Control.
I think it is.
Yeah, it's Control Z is the other oops if you're not in hyperkeys. But you don't really need to know that. Just Control Y deletes the line. Okay? So Shift F5 was a fixed line. Get you a fixed line. Alt-O is print. You can be anywhere in that text. Alt-O is your print command. You go to your setup and you can change all of your, different things or whatever. If you have multiple printers or whatnot. Properties takes you to another bigger thing where right here on the print quality, you always want it on fast draft. I don't know why mine changes all the time, but you want it on fast draft or whatever. But that's what you need to know right here. Alt-O is print. The professional in the back. I'm sorry?
It's not 0, right? It's the letter O.
It's O. It's not 0. It's not the number. It's the letter. Alt-O is print.
I have a random question.
I think I have one random answer left.
Okay.
What you got?
So say you wanted to just print out, since we're talking about printing, you just wanted to print out the core, and all the stuff above that, you didn't want included in that. How do you exactly do that?
So you want to print from here down?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to change it a little bit. But if you just want to print there, you don't care what the pages are. If you just want to print from there down or whatever, then what you do right here, put your cursor right here, Alt-N, brings you to insert a print command, and you're going to press page break. And what that does is it brings, wherever you are on that page, it brings all of that stuff down to a brand new page.
Awesome. So we'll just go to
And then
the
you
top.
go to that page, go to that cursor, and then actually you're going to have to go to Alt-O, find out where that page is,